You already know what it is. You already know who it is. It's Outlier B, and we got another live for you cats today, man. I'm on my way home, and I'm very, very, very tired, my people. Last night, I think I got like an hour of sleep, man. I was knocked out on that train, son. A girl or a lady, she had to tap me on the shoulder to get me up. But I was out of it, man. Out of it. And I think when I get home, I got a couple of things to do, and then I'm going to sleep. I might call it an early night this time, man. Might be an early day, son. I'm talking like 7 o'clock. Because last night I was up to close to what? 1 o'clock. You guys already know I get up at around 2:30, take my shower, start getting dressed, start thinking about things. And that's usually how I do it. But I'm tired, man. I'm tired. But today was long and eventful. I was doing some training today. And listen, man, everybody process things at their own speed. And I'm learning that, man. I'm learning that. And when I train, basically I try to do things in different ways, because it has a different level of experience. Everybody has different personalities, and they're gonna do different things, man. So today, I was trying to teach someone how to filter data in Excel. Now, for me, I've been doing these type of things for 20 something years. So it comes second nature to me. I can do I could tally up data in a spreadsheet real fast. It takes nothing for me to do that type of stuff. And that's because I'm familiar with what I'm doing. However, these ideas are new to this person that I'm teaching. So we spent the whole day trying to learn how to filter something. Now, the objective of the list, right? This was a list. We had a list. And the lists were trip IDs. And each trip ID comes with a date, and it comes with a different event type. So basically what we want to do is line up a history of a trip. So we want to have when the trip was assigned. We also want to show when the driver arrived to the pickup. We want to show when the driver actually picked up the client. And we also want to show when the client was dropped off, because these are important KPIs that we use to manage the contract. So these are some of the things in which I do on a daily basis. But at the same time, it's very time consuming because the lists are not formatted to do this type of cross-referencing. So what happens is I have to use different programs to cross-check and breed things over. So I'm trying to teach a coworker how to do this stuff, and we want to see all the trip events for a trip ID. So again, that's when the driver was assigned the trip, when the driver actually picked up or arrived to the location, when the driver actually picked the client up, and when the driver dropped the person off. All of these are different types of events. So we want to isolate them, right? And sometimes, let's say a driver is actually going to be late for a pickup. They'll take the information, they'll take that trip and give it to another driver. So you'll have situations where one trip event can have maybe 3 different arrivals. They might have 3 different drivers that pull up to the area and perform the trip. So we got to know which one is the basically the closest or the largest value. So what I'm trying to teach you to do is, okay, you got to master list. Okay, you got to master list. So you want to take out or filter the ones, put them on a sheet called arrive. Then you want to filter out the 2 events, the events that's marked 2. You want to make another tab for that. Do a 3 event and make another tab for that. So that's what we were trying to teach you to do. And then once we got all of those together, we was going to sort it by the largest value. So the next thing we was going to do is use a X lookup to bring all that data over And we have all that information on the trip. And once that happens, I could do a whole bunch of analysis on that data. I could make sure that the driver that they saying picked up the client actually picked up the client, looking at the GPS pings. These are some of the things that I learned, and I definitely need help doing that, you know? So I'm teaching her, and it's just not going well, man. It's just not going well. And I want to know what I was doing wrong, man. You know what I mean? Because as a teacher, I feel you're only as successful as your student. You dig? So what I was trying to get her to understand was this. And let me know if this is a hard concept to grasp. So I was saying the main sheet is like the student roster, like every student that goes to a university. And I want you to create 4 different tabs. One tab for freshmen, one tab for sophomores, one tab for juniors, and one tab for seniors. And each of these things have different years. So you know a freshman is year 1, sophomore is year 2, year 3 junior, year 4 is a senior. So we want to separate those and have different sheets for the freshmen. I'm gonna think of some ways to try to simplify it and make it easier because again, you know, everybody learns at a different pace. And for me, as a teacher, I feel that you're only as successful as your student. And if the person isn't getting it, then you guys aren't speaking the same language, man. You are not speaking the same language. So that's on the agenda for tonight, thinking about ways on how to do that. You dig? I'm still working on that email that I was telling y'all about. These cats trying to get more money, son. They want more money. But like I said, the data got to be on point, and we got to be able to look at these KPIs and basically say, okay, we can give you more money based on this and based on that. But if I can't do that, then everything got to be halted, my people. Everything got to be halted, you know? But I'm talking a little bit too much, being a little bit too raw, a little bit too real with you cats, you know what I mean? I am starting to feel a little better. I was very tired, but you guys give me energies, huh? Y'all give me a whole lot of energy. And since every time I get up here, people say who I sound like, and it's always a rapper or always an actor like Denzel, you know? And they got me to thinking about childhood and how I was kind of different, man, you know? I was telling somebody about Donald Trump, and I was saying how, like, back in the day, hip-hop community did not hate Trump like that. And one of my favorite albums was Tikal 2000, straight up from Method Man. You know, Staten Island stand up. You already know what it is. I'm from Long Island, and on the low, Method Man do represent Hempstead because he used to stay on Terrace for a little bit, you know? So I'm listening to an interview, and if y'all know, Donald Trump was featured on that album. You know, he telling Method, like, yo, where you at? We down in Florida, and we waiting for your album. Somebody on the check-in, Slim Shady, 67 said, hi, what up, Slim? Yeah, so Trump was definitely on that album, and he definitely had a different relationship with the hip-hop community. But I'm listening to that album, and, you know, he was on there. So it got me to thinking, you know what I mean? He was saying that when he was younger, he would go to Times Square with his pops, and they'll go watch, not horror films, they would go watch the Chinese flicks. And I know hip-hop, Wu-Tang, all them people, they into Chinese flicks. Yo, and stuff and things like that. That was never my thing, kid. For me, I was listening like horror films. That was my thing from a kid, yo. From a kid, horror films have been my favorite, man. What's some of y'all favorites? What genre of film do you like? What genre of film do you like? For me, it's always been horror, man, you know? This was back in the 80s, before Blockbuster, man. Before Blockbuster, it was still the mom and pops stores where you could go and get tapes, cassettes, all that type of stuff, man. So I have mad cousins. So every Friday, they would come to the crib and everybody would pick out a movie. I think movie was like $1.50 to rent for the day. So everybody would pick out a movie, man. And every time I would pick out horror movies, yo. And it got me to talk about some of my favorite horror movies. Favorite summer activity. Talking about my favorite horror movies. So if I was to put together a list of some of my favorite horror movies, this is how it would go, right? So my first favorite horror movie, it got to be Evil Dead, man. Evil Dead. I love that movie. Anybody in the chat seen Evil Dead? You know? It's funny. When I was in grade school, I think, man, I think I was in the 6th grade. So this is like 1990, around that year, 1990, 89, 90, 91, around that time. We had a party, and they didn't know how weird I was, but they let me pick the movie that the class was to watch. Is you crazy? You give somebody like me that, you already know what happened. I picked Evil Dead 2, son. Evil Dead 2. The class was running out. They was like, ah! I thought it was hilarious, you know what I mean? That was definitely my favorite movie. And then next, I used to like Sleepaway Camp with Angela. Y'all cats seen Sleepaway Camp? Teenage Wasteland. The first one. How they used to sing? I'm a happy camper. I love to scream and shout. And through the gates of God, I can't. I don't know. I'm messing up the song, man. But that was another one of my favorite movies, Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp 1, 2, 3. I think it was 4 of them. They even had one where Angela was walking around with the Jason mask and Freddy Krueger glove, yo. She was official. Angela, if y'all never seen Sleepaway Camp, watch it, man. You know, Angela was hilarious. She was funny, yo. And to this day, me and my family, we play around with that, play around with some of the stuff that they were saying in there. So Sleepaway Camp definitely up there. Next, you got Slumber Party Massacre. I used to love that crazy ass movie, Slumber Party Massacre. The one who I think I posted him on my page before. He was a regular dude who escaped the mental ward, yo. Just a regular cat. I could have beat him. Well, he was just a regular cat, son. Stalking women. Like, you want it. You're all pretty girls. I love that movie, man. That Slumber Party Massacre. Then they had another one where this cat thought he was Elvis or Prince. And he had like a guitar that turned into a drill. And he was like playing the guitar, doing impromptu videos, stabbing people, like, I love that one. What else I like, man? What other horror movies is classic? You already know the original My Bloody Valentine. That was a classic. My boy Axel. Will you be my Valentine? Come on, son. What y'all know about that? My boy Axel. Axel. That was a good ass movie, yo. The original, though. Not the remake. The original. I think that dropped in like 82. You got that. It's another classic called Mother's Day. Y'all ever heard of Mother's Day? With my boy Ike and Adley. They was hilarious, you know what I mean? I still say some of that stuff like, I get the Kodak. I get the Kodak. Come on, man. And the interesting thing about Sleepaway Camp is that James Earl Jones' pops was in it. He was the cook. Angela got him. Angela damn sure got him, you know? So what else was some of my favorites, man? I used to love horror movies. Anybody else on the chat used to like horror movies? I guess not. I guess not. Yeah, no. But yeah, it definitely, I used to be scared of them damn movies, man. Now I look back at them, I'm like, yo, them joints was terrible. They was whack. They was whack, son, like Jason. I used to think Jason was real. Like it could possibly be someone like walking around. There would be nobody like Jason, yo. And at my age, I think I'm like the black dude, son. Remember the black dude that was on the roof? He was boxing, like Sugar Ray. He was boxing Jason up, tagging Jason. He just ran out of stamina, man. And Jason damn uppercut him and ripped his damn head off, yo. That damn shit was funny, man, I used to rock with Freddie and them, but, I ain't really float my boat like that. You know, I did like Jason. I like Old Friday the 13th. So I did like Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I rock with you. I know the big ones. They never really, turned the knob for me. I do like Scream. Scream is definitely one of my favorite horror movies. I think that they changed the game with that, the original Scream. And everybody just, they took that and ran with it. I think Wes Craven did that, right? The first one. One of them famous dudes. But yeah, Scream was definitely one of my favorite movies, yo. I think it changed the game. And I always say that memories are often shaped by how you're feeling at that time. So I remember going to see Scream with my father, man, and this brings back another one. So, chilling with my father, he's older now. He's in his 70s. And honestly, he had a stroke. So he's not the same as he once was. But I do go back to those memories, man, where he used to take me to the movies. Him and my mother split, but my father would come pick me up every weekend. And that's one of the things he would do with me. He would take me to, like, museums. We would go to Yankee games. We would go to Met games. He would take me out to nice restaurants. He'll take me to, like, D.C., all around the area. And always went to the movies. And Scream was those movies that I remember. Me and him were both in there trying to figure out who the killer was. And my father think he's intelligent, just like I think I'm intelligent, but I got it from him. So he's trying to figure out the killer. We trying to figure out the killer. We thought it was the principal the whole time. He was like, yo, I'm telling you, it's the principal. And then when the principal got killed, he had the smut. Nobody could have figured that out, yo. Then another one that we saw, this was way back in the day. And we was going to D.C., right? We was going to D.C. together. And what happened is that we stayed in the Bronx. And I got a cousin who lives out there in the Bronx who, he got a different type of lifestyle. So my father didn't want me seeing that. So we went out to the movie theater over there. And yo, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, son. It's like kids my age at the time. I was like 12, 13 in the Bronx. They all in the movie theater smoking weed, making mad noise, and we went to see From Dusk Till Dawn. And that movie was a twist, yo. It started on some robbery type stuff. And then it switched to some zombies and all types of stuff, yo. My boy Richard Roundtree was in there shooting, like, it was crazy, man. That was a beautiful movie, But I always remember those times with my pops, Always remember times with my pops. Yeah. So I'm about to get up out of here, my people. We spoke about movies. We spoke about memories. And we also spoke a little bit about what I do at work, man, and with the training, I might have to go back and delete all that because that's a little bit too information for you cats, you dig? But I'd like to thank everybody for checking in. I have been getting a lot more subscribers. You dig? Keep that subscribe up. Hit that damn like button, man, when you step in, man. Show some lit off. But I'm up out of here, man. Peace out. Yeah.